I don't think anything's going to happen from it. So I sat there on my break, applied for this course, and 3 days later I was accepted.
So, like 10 minutes in your break, you're scrolling through social media and you're like, yep, I'm going to do this. Welcome home to You Are the Compass, a podcast about the turning points in life that awaken us to new directions and the inner guidance that helps us navigate them. I'm your producer and host, Jessie Clayton. Hi, and welcome home to You Are the Compass, Fast 10 series. Our next guest, Jade, who you may have already guessed it by the title of the show, is a captain. As to which field, well, I will let her take you down the runway shortly. Jade and I used to work together about 6 years ago now, and just her passion and drive had always truly inspired me. And over the years, I've watched in the wings, mainly through social media, as she really took off in her chosen career and general life path. Jade, over to you. Welcome home to You Are the Compass.
Hey, thank you for having me. I'm super excited to get into it with you.
Amazing. Jade, can you tell us what the captain stands for?
So the captain stands for me being a commercial pilot.
I love that. How exciting. Can you give us a little bit of an intro as how that's come about for you being a captain?
Yeah, so I guess as you already said, we met when we were both working at Flight Centre. Travel's been something that I've always had a super passion for, and I thought, maybe selling travel was going to be that end goal for me. And I think once I sort of got into it there, I just realized that being behind the desk and talking about the world was not something I was going to be ever content doing. I then decided, all right, well, what am I going to do? Because I'd only done sales for the last few years, and I kind of really just needed, I guess, a bit of a push in the right direction. For me, it was sort of interesting because I was looking at, I mean, initially was a flight attendant. Morgan was talking about a lot when we were working at Flight Centre, and that was sort of where I got a little bit of, I guess, an interest of actually getting out and seeing the world as a career. And I sort of sat down one day and I just was like, you know what? Why be a flight attendant if I could fly the plane? And that sort of just set me up for where I am now.
I love that. And that was like 6 years ago before COVID and everything hit. And how did that sort of go? Like after COVID, did you get into like how does one even start training to be a commercial pilot?
Yeah, so I think, as COVID hit, it was a real big, wake up call for everyone, I ended up going back to hospitality just because it was something easy and I was comfortable to do it. And I just happened to have a really rough night. I was working on the floor and I think I had a customer say something to me that was just, I don't know, it was silly and I was just upset about it. And I was just scrolling on Facebook on my break going, what am I doing? Why am I back in this industry? Something that, I do enjoy, but it's not a forever career. Not for me anyway. And I just found an ad on Facebook for a university degree for aviation. And I sort of, it was something that I'd never even thought was in the realm of a possibility. I had sort of looked at going down like the defense path and getting into aviation through the Air Force. But yeah, found this ad on Facebook for CQ University. At the time, they were partnering with Virgin Australia. And yeah, it just sort of one thing led to another. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to apply for this. I don't think anything's going to happen from it. So I sat there on my break, applied for this course, and 3 days later, I was accepted.
So, like 10
Yep.
minutes in your break, you're scrolling through social media and you're like, yep, I'm going to do this.
Yep.
How did that trajectory from there, Jade? Did you have to wait for admissions to come in? Do they have an intake every year or how does that work?
So I think I'd applied and it was around October. Um, of 2021. So obviously gotten accepted into it. I was a mature age student at that time. So I was sort of expecting to do some sort of bridging course, but I was super fortunate. I think must have been after COVID, quite eager to get some people through the course. So um, the start of the year was February the next year. So yeah, I had a couple of months to sort of figure things out, work out what I was going to do with the course itself, because they did offer either a full time or a part time. Obviously, at the time, I was like 23, so I'm like, oh, I don't know if I can do study full time. But I mean, obviously, that would have extended the course double the amount of time. So I was like, you know what? I think 3 years is going to be enough. I think I can, if I put my head down and really focus on it, I think the 3 years can be achievable. And I mean, it's definitely a juggle, as an adult going into university and not, living at home or having that like super financial support from your like parents or anything was definitely a wake up call for me. But somehow I made it work. I kept working hospitality just because it was a really good job to have whilst studying. I found a really good place that was flexible with me, and if I had to take days off when I was starting to get into my flying, as I got into doing lectures and actually going away to do some stuff as well, they were really great. So I had a good support network there. Um, and yeah, I got to start flying within 3 months of starting my uni course, which was super exciting. I didn't realize it was going to be such a quick, pick up and get going. And yeah, I mean, that first flight was something I wasn't sure. I'd never flown a plane before. So, to commit to a 3-year course and not know 100% if that was something I was going to love was a little bit daunting. And yeah, from that first moment, I'm like, this is incredible. I love being in the air. I love the freedom of it. And I think that really just drove me to be like, nah, we're going to make this happen however it needs to happen.
I love that. Did you just put the headset on and be like, I'm home?
Yeah, it really was that, like, I guess, centering of like, this is everything has led up to this point and this is where I'm meant to be, I've had opportunities that I probably wouldn't have if I'd started the course, prior or even later in my life. I think it's all really just fallen into place exactly as it has needed to for me, which has been great.
Do you need inspiration every day for something like this, or do you just draw on it from when you first were scrolling back on that page on social media and you're like, oh, I'll just remember that time. I don't want to go back now that I've had the taste for something so much more.
Yeah, I think it's nice to reflect back on that moment because it's something that, comes up quite often when you tell people, anyone I sort of speak to about it. It's always like, this is where it started for me. Um, and I just think like in the day to day, like it can be a little bit hard to find that push, but I think you go through my photos on my phone and we have all of these beautiful landscape views. Cairns is a beautiful place to fly. We've got the reef and the mountains right there. So I definitely find little inspiration in everyday moments as well. But it definitely helps to have that, I guess, pivotal point that you can reflect back on and go, yeah, like this was it for me. Any way you can find it is definitely the best way to do it.
For sure. I think that's so important. And to keep going, to look for that inspiration, but you've got to be intrinsically motivated to do it, like to keep going on that path.
I think in anything you do, it can be quite daunting to pick up something new or have to dedicate your time to mastery of something. Am I doing the right thing? Is this what I really want to do? And I think you've got to just be able to sit there and go, like, I love what I'm doing right now.
Yeah, 100%. So to just picture yourself already like wearing that captain's hat or already flying your own plane solo, and to just envision yourself being in that moment. Jade, if you could give us any advice to our listeners out there and budding pilots alike, what would that be? How would they get into this industry?
Just take the plunge. There are so many different ways to get into the industry. I think from my perception of the industry, I don't have anyone in my family who's ever done aviation. So this was a real new realm for me. You could go down the university route that I did. It's a lot longer, but you can still put it on your student loans and things. There's also a TAFE course that you can get into, which is much shorter. You can be flying and solo flying within 9 months, which is a little bit daunting, but it's definitely a way to get fast tracked through to the industry. Just having that even trial flight, something that I didn't initially do before I sort of went all guns blazing, but just to get up into a small aircraft and just get to experience it, because I think that makes or breaks a lot of people. You can have a lot of love for aircrafts and flying in general, but I think that small aircraft feeling is very different to getting up and hopping, on your domestic flight from Cairns to Brisbane. I think everyone needs to get out of their head a little bit and overthink the possibilities and the realms. If it's something that you want enough, everything will fall into place as long as you want to make it happen.
Circling back around for the approach to land, Captain Jade. And as we touch back on the runway, and you might feel overwhelmed, just too much to do, that negative self talk starts creeping in. Just remember what or who inspired you to take off. And does that first taste of a totally different life still taste just as sweet from the first bite? We challenge you to not fly in circles if you want to create your own shapes and go for the stars. Fly this episode to someone who you think it just might land with. Handing over. The musical intro and outro for this episode has been produced by Ornate Mosh. Interested in your own unique jingle? Reach out from the link in the show notes below.